Hello everyone, we're checking out bass lines. Instructions for these are in the text of the lesson. What I'd like to do in this video is review what we know about chords and talk about some new chords you'll see in this lesson. The chords we work with have three notes, a root, a third, and a fifth. If you're feeling really jazzy, you add in the seventh, which is the fourth chord in these. To find what chord a Roman numeral indicates, we've got to know what the key signature is that we're working with. Let's start in the key of C. That's my favorite key signature because we have no sharps or flats. The Roman numeral that the number is indicates where the root of the chord is. So in this case, if we have a 6 chord, then we're going to know the root of the chord is on the 6th scale degree of the key of C. The number that the Roman numeral is tells us where the root of the chord is. In the key of C, we have a 6 chord, which means we're going to go to the 6th note in the C scale, which is an A. So the root of the chord is going to be an A. In this lesson, we're going to add a flat before the Roman numeral. Sometimes you'll see a sharp as well, but we're not going to get into that too much. The principles will be the same for both. These chords sound really cool and look super complex, but they're quite simple to do once you understand the principles. The flat or sharp before the Roman numeral just indicates that you're going to move the root of the chord down or up a half step. Always establish the root of the Roman numeral first by reading what that Roman numeral number is. Once you do, the next thing you read is the capital or undercase quality of the Roman numeral. That capital or undercase tells us where the third of the chord is in relation to the root. A capital means a major interval, which means you add 4 half steps from the root, where a minor indicates 3 half steps above the root. An interval is a space between two notes. So in the key of C, let's look at 4 different chords you might see. We have a minor 3, a major 3, a flat minor 3, and a flat major 3. The first thing you always want to figure out is the root of the chord. Let's figure out the root of the chords first. We determine the root by looking at the key signature. The key of C is easy to work with because we have no flats or sharps. To find that root of the chord, just look at the number and ignore the major or minor quality for now. Our first chord is a little 3, so the number is 3. In the key of C, that's going to mean we've got a C, D, and E. The third note is E, so the root of this chord is going to be an E. The same is true for a big 3. While finding a root, we don't care about the capital or undercase quality of the Roman numeral. We just care what the number of the Roman numeral is. The flat that happens before these chords tells us that the root is going to be a half step lower. I find it easiest to count with a piano keyboard. So find our 3 and lower it 1 half step by moving to the left 1 note on the piano keyboard. The root of both these chords is an E flat. Next, let's look at the third. It's always going to be up 2 notes from the root. So in this case, it'll be a G. Now we don't know if that'll be a G sharp, natural, or flat, and that's what we're figuring out now. If the quality of the Roman numeral is capital, that means the third is a major interval, and it's up 4 half steps. If the Roman numeral is undercase, then that interval is minor, and we only add 3 half steps from the root. This is an undercase 3 chord, so the interval is minor, and we only add 3 half steps from the root. Counting up from an E, we find the third is a G. This 3 chord is capital, so the interval is major. From here, we add 4 half steps. Counting up from an E, we find this third is a G sharp. This 3 is undercase, so we only add 3 half steps to find the third. But because the root is an E flat, we find that the third in this case is going to end up as a G flat. Finally, this flat big 3 is a major chord, so we're going to count up 4 half steps from the root. The root here is an E flat, so counting up 4 half steps gives us a G. Lastly, the fifth. The fifth is always easy to find. It will always be up 7 half steps from the root, except for diminished chords. We never use diminished chords. Blech. 7 half steps above an E is going to be a B. So for both these chords, doesn't matter if they're major or minor, the fifth is a B. 7 half steps above any E flat, major or minor, is always going to be a B flat. Let's blitz through 3 different chords in 3 different situations and see how this system works in other environments. Let's start with a major 6 chord in the key of C. The root is the number of the Roman numeral. This Roman numeral is a 6, and the 6th note in the key of C is an A. Next up, the third. The third will always be up 2 notes, but I don't know what kind of note this is going to be. Is it a C sharp, a C natural, or a C flat? Let's figure it out. We look at the capital or undercase quality of the Roman numeral. In this case, it's a capital, so we add 4 half steps from the root. Counting up 4 half steps, we find it's a C sharp. And the fifth, easy, always 7 half steps up from the root, so an E. Next, let's look at a minor 4 in the key of B flat. B flat has 2 flats in its key signature. If you ever forget, just ask Google. I always seem to forget the number of sharps in the key of A and E, but Google doesn't. The root is the 4th note in the key of B flat. That'll be an E flat. The chord is undercase, meaning it's a minor chord, so we add 3 half steps to find the third. That'll be a G flat. And the fifth, always up 7 1/2 steps. Adding from the root, we find that's a B flat. Now let's find a tricky chord. This is a flat major 7 chord in the key of B. Oh my goodness. First, find the root. In the key of B, let's find the 7th scale degree. It's an A sharp. But this flat sign before the Roman numeral tells us to lower this note a half step. So it's just an A. So now we have an A natural. Next, the chord is capital, meaning it's a major chord, and we add 4 half steps above the root to find the third. Adding 4 half steps from the A, we find the third is going to be a C sharp. And the fifth, always easy, add 7 half steps, and we find the fifth in this chord is an E natural. Dealing with 7 chords is quite easy too, and makes chords sound a lot cooler. If you see a capital M7, this indicates that the 7th is a major interval, whereas if you just see a 7, that indicates the 7th is a minor interval. With each 7th, you will add 4 half steps for major interval or 3 half steps for minor interval. But instead of counting from the root, now we count from the 5th. Let's go back to our examples. If you have a major 6/7 chord, the 3rd is of course major because the Roman numeral is capital, but the 7th is minor because we don't see that capital M between the 7 and the Roman numeral. To add a minor 7th, we go up 3 half steps from the 5th. Counting up from that E, we now add in a G natural to make it a 7 chord. Next chord was a minor 4 in the key of B flat. Let's make that a minor 4/7. Here we have a minor triad and a minor 7th. If it's a minor 7th, we add 3 half steps from the 5th and get a D flat. And the last chord we had was a flat major 7 in the key of B. Let's make it a flat major 7, major 7. Oh boy. The triad is major and the 7th is major. So with a major interval, you add 4 half steps. Counting 4 half steps up from the 5th, we find the 7th is a G sharp. Work through each chord slowly to avoid getting overwhelmed. If you follow each of these steps, you can figure out even the most confusing of the chords we've got. Go back through the sections if you'd like to watch parts again or watch the whole thing. Good luck!